I still remember that night as clearly as if it just happened yesterday. The air outside my apartment was cool, a restless kind of spring night when the sky can't decide whether to rain or shine. I'd been pacing this small living room for almost an hour, replaying every word I wanted to say to her, but nothing felt right. My palms were sweaty, my chest tight. It wasn't just nerves, it was fear. The kind that sinks into your bones when something actually matters. Her name was Emily. We'd been friends for a few months, late night study sessions that turned into long walks, shared playlists, coffee that always went cold because we were too lost in conversation to drink it. She was the kind of woman who didn't try to impress anyone. She didn't need to. Her smile had this quiet honesty that made you want to be a better version of yourself. I think that's what scared me most. For the first time, I wasn't chasing excitement or chemistry. I was standing on the edge of something real. Something that could change me. So, I did something I hadn't done since I was a kid. I called my dad. It was close to midnight, and I almost hung up when I heard the line connect. He answered with a groggy, "Hey, you okay?" I hesitated before blurting out, "Dad, I need your help. It's my first time." There was silence on the other end, then a deep sigh that carried both confusion and worry. "Your first time, doing what, exactly?" he asked. I could hear the hint of laughter he was trying to suppress, and I instantly regretted my wording. "Not that kind of first time," I said quickly. I think I'm in love, and I don't know how to tell her. There was another pause, softer this time, like he was smiling. "Stay where you are," he said. "I'm coming over." When he arrived 20 minutes later, he brought 2 cups of black coffee, the way he always did when something serious was about to be discussed. He looked around my apartment, the cluttered desk, the guitar leaning against the couch, the half-finished pizza, and gave a small nod of approval, like he was seeing a piece of himself in me. "So," he said, setting the cups down, "tell me about her." I told him everything about the way Emily tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous, how she read poetry aloud like each word had weight, how her laugh seemed to fill every empty space around her. He listened quietly, the way he always had, never interrupting. When I finished, I expected advice, maybe even a step-by-step fatherly strategy on how to confess my feelings. Instead, he leaned back, took a sip of coffee, and said, "You know, the night I told your mom I loved her, I nearly passed out from panic." That surprised me. My parents had always seemed effortless, that easy kind of love you grow up believing is normal. He smiled at my expression. "Yeah, you think it was all smooth, huh?" I rehearsed that moment for weeks, wrote down what I'd say, even practiced in the mirror, and when I finally did it, my voice cracked like a teenager's. But she didn't care, because love isn't a performance, it's honesty. I looked down at my hands. What if I say it wrong? What if she doesn't feel the same? Then you'll survive, he said simply, and you'll be stronger for it. But if you don't say anything, you'll never know what could have been. He stood up, walked to the window, and stared out at the city lights flickering in the distance. "You know what your problem is, Ethan. You think love has to be perfect. It doesn't. It just has to be real." Something about the way he said it hit me harder than I expected. My dad wasn't the kind of man who talked about feelings easily. He was practical, grounded, the type who fixed things with his hands instead of words. But that night, he wasn't just my father. He was a man who'd lived, who'd loved, and who'd made peace with the misanthropy of it all. We talked until 2 in the morning, about fear, about timing, about how vulnerability doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. By the time he left, the city was quiet, and I felt lighter, like he'd passed down some secret truth that I hadn't realized I was missing. The next day, I met Emily at our usual spot, a small cafe on the corner of 8th and Willow. The place always smelled like roasted beans and fresh rain. She was already there, reading a book, sunlight spilling across her face. I watched her for a second before walking over, my heart pounding in rhythm with my footsteps. When she looked up and smiled, everything inside me settled. I sat across from her, the words tangled somewhere between my throat and my chest. We talked about nothing for a while, about movies, about work, about how spring never seemed to last long enough. Then, in the middle of her sentence, I just said it, Emily, I interrupted softly. "I think I'm in love with you." Her eyes widened, not in shock but in the quiet recognition of something she'd been waiting to hear. She didn't say anything at first. She just reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. Then she whispered, "I was hoping you'd say that first." Asterisk, it was the simplest, most extraordinary moment of my life. The world didn't stop spinning. The cafe didn't go silent. But something in me shifted, a calmness, a certainty, and in that instant, I understood exactly what my father meant. Love didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to be real. Asterisk, that night, I called him again. When he picked up, I didn't say anything for a moment. I just let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. She said yes, I finally said. Asterisk, he laughed, that deep, relieved kind of laugh that fills a room. Of course she did, he said. I'm proud of you, son. Asterisk, and before we hung up, he added, remember that feeling, the honesty, the courage. That's the real first time. Not the moment you say the words, but the moment you stop being afraid to mean them.